I'm Sean Aylmer, and this is a Fear and Greed extended interview. All the other good bits we couldn't fit into the daily podcast. If you're looking for the daily episode of Fear and Greed, check the podcast playlist. Otherwise, enjoy the interview. We talk to a wide range of pretty inspiring people here, business leaders and entrepreneurs mostly. But even by those standards, today's guest has a remarkable story to tell. Tom Caska was a Qantas pilot until a broken neck ended his career, but he wanted to keep flying, so he got involved with drones instead, at a time when interest and demand was just starting to boom. Tom is the co-founder and CEO of Aerologix, a company described as the Uber for drones. Tom Caska, welcome to Fear and Greed.
Hi, Sean.
Tell me your own story first up. You were a pilot to begin with, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I was a pilot for many years. I was flying for QantasLink based up in Cairns in North Queensland before I had a pretty big accident that ended my flying career.
The accident had nothing to do with flying though. Kite surfing, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I was flying the kite at the time and I was flying over a sandbar and I fell out of the sky from around 10 metres straight onto my neck on the sandbar and hyperextended and ended up snapping C7 vertebrae in my neck.
I'm cringing here, Tom. That's a horrendous story. I'm sorry to hear that. And so that ended your flying career, is that right? Just because of physical injuries?
Yeah, look, I had some pretty severe nerve damage and a very long recovery. I mean, as you could appreciate with breaking a neck. So it was a pretty big rescue operation and ended up getting flown down to Sydney in a Learjet with care flight into Prince of Wales Hospital, underwent emergency surgery, but then I had a 6-month plus recovery period where I really couldn't do much. I was pretty worse for wear.
Yeah, indeed. So what made you go into drones then?
Well, look, I always had an interest in drone technology. It was just sort of becoming a thing. This is back in 2014. And it was the next best thing I could do at the time. I couldn't fly an aircraft anymore. I couldn't really go out and do anything physical. I had a pretty long recovery. So I used to sit on the beach and get the drone up and fly around and film my mate surfing.
Fantastic. Now, look, you're talking to someone who has no idea about drones. So, pardon the 101, but we're going to have to go through it. So what sort of drones are you talking about?
So, look, these are pretty much the low-cost consumer drones. Back in 2014, I had a GoPro on a quadcopter. It could fly for about 10 minutes or something like that. It could record some cool things in the sky. And it's really, really evolved so much in the last 7 years. So, these things were pretty expensive back in the day. They couldn't fly very far. Flight navigation systems on them weren't very sophisticated. If you look at the drones today, you can go and get one in JB Hi-Fi for about $500 and you can record in Ultra HD. It can fly for about 35 minutes and it can fly a long distance away and pretty much control itself. So I guess the technology has moved at an incredible rate and it's opened up so many different commercial opportunities within different industries. And this is, I guess, what's really excited me, all these new commercial applications that have come about in recent times.
So take me through the business model of Aerologix.
Yeah, so look, Aerologix, like you described, is like an Uber for drones type service. So we've built an iOS app, an Android app, and a full web interface. We've also built a full flight navigation system to assist the drone pilot to carry out complex missions. So this system will actually take over the drone and automate a lot of complex flight procedures. And this means we can get really high quality data extracted at the other end. So when customers come to us, we have big infrastructure customers, telcos, insurance customers. They're looking for solutions to get on-demand aerial vision. Our system or our network of pilots are distributed around the country. We've currently got about 900. They can be activated and accept a mission, and then they can get airborne really quickly if they're available and capture some really unique information. And then we've also built some other deep tech products to analyze the data and information and present this back to the client, either like a roof report or a report on a particular type of asset, wherever it may be.
Okay, so your business model, if there's a storm, for example, and you need information, or an insurer needs information quickly, calls up Aerologix, you have pilots there who are piloting the drones, who presumably fairly quickly can get above a house in this particular instance and get the information back to the insurer. Is that more or less how it works?
Yeah, that's correct. We had this happen recently. There's a really big hailstorm that went through southeast Queensland. the insurance company actually uses our enterprise portal. They can order jobs and activate different pilots, and then they get told where the location is, they get a flight plan, they download it via our app and activate the flight plan, use their drone captures the data, and then this information then can go straight back to the insurance company as a report. So it saves a real lot of time and money and effort. And by using so many different drone pilots, you can get this information really, really quickly.
So a few things there. How do you become a drone pilot?
Well, yeah, you can do a drone course with our training partner, AB Assist. That's usually a 5-day course, costs somewhere around $1,500. Or in some instances, you don't need to do the full course. You can operate under the sub 2 kilo rule, which basically means you can go and buy a drone and do certain types of jobs, depending on where they are. If they're not in airspace or over populous areas and things like that, you don't need the full license, but you do need to log on to the CASA website. You need to obtain a thing called an ARN or an aviation reference number, and then pass a basic flyers quiz, and then you can be a qualified commercial drone operator.
Okay, and who makes good drone operators? It's such a foreign concept to me, to be honest.
Well, what we've found recently, as you could appreciate, there's been lots of airline pilots out of work with the COVID crisis. They've been fantastic drone operators. They've been able to transpose their skills. A lot of the skill set, I guess, in being an airline pilot, I can speak from personal experiences, they're quite similar. The flight navigation systems, understanding airspace, understanding the rules and regulations, and having really good situational awareness. So ex-airline pilots are fantastic. And also the younger generation, a lot of the younger kids who have been into gaming have also been fantastic drone operators. When I worked with a surf life saving program, I found this to be the case. Some of the best drone operators were the 14, 15-year-old kids who had been doing a lot of online gaming. They were fantastic in operating the drones.
So it's dexterity.
Absolutely. Yeah, dexterity and then being tech savvy. A lot of it's like using a mobile phone or a smart app or something like that. There's all sorts of different features you can play with, and if you're familiar with that, then you can certainly be quite handy with flying a drone.
Tom, stay with me. We'll be back in a minute. My guest this morning is Aerologix co-founder and CEO, Tom Caska. Some of the drones must be getting pretty high if you have to register with CASA.
Yeah, look, some of them you can get approval to operate into airspace and things like that. At the moment, you can't legally operate above 400 feet or 120 metres AGL unless you have a clearance from CASA to go higher, because all of a sudden you're up into the airspace with the other aircraft. I guess looking at the larger drones, we have drones that can fly extremely high and across the whole country, and military-style drones and things like that. So I think what's going to happen in the future, you're going to see an integration of the airspace from actual commercial aircraft and all the way down to the small drones. And we're just starting to see that happen now, hence why you do need to register your drone with CASA.
Okay. Now, Nightingale Partners, which is a fund that invests capital on behalf of Australian CEOs, in fact, it put $1.5 million into Aerologix. What does that sort of money do for your company?
Yeah, look, it's really helped us expand our products and our tech. So we've been able to employ more software engineers. We've got operational crew here in Australia, and we've been able to, I guess, start to scale the business. So we've been pressure testing our technology and incubating and looking at certain verticals to get the business model right. And we've been doing that successfully. So now, using some of that capital, it's enabled us to really start scaling the business and given us about a 12 to 14 months of runway, and we'll likely capital raise again, and that will further facilitate our growth and expansion, most likely offshore into the European market.
Okay, so you must be very confident that in certain verticals, insurance, I totally understand that one, for example, but in certain verticals, this is a really growing business.
Oh, look, absolutely, 100%. I think a lot of the big companies that we've been dealing with have always looked at drone technology, and I guess it's been maybe a nice to have in the last 5 years, but they've realised now it will impact their bottom line, and if their competitors are starting to use drones, and they've got to really start thinking about using this type of innovation as it will impact their bottom line. And having access to on-demand drone vision, and that's what we can support at Aerologix, is absolutely critical to be able to make timely decisions
improve their business at the end of the day, like becomes more efficient, I suppose.
Yeah, look, absolutely. Look, a good example of this is with one of our major telco clients. One of the towers goes down, they don't know what's wrong with it. We can get one of our drone pilots, launch a drone, go up, have a look at it, figure out exactly what's wrong, and then get the right parts delivered really, really quickly, get the problem rectified and solved in a very, very timely manner instead of having that asset go down for a number of days. So it's really looking at putting these efficiencies into these companies and saving them a lot of money by using this new technology.
So I'm sure you know so much more about drones than pretty much anyone else listening. What I'm interested in is, where do drones go to in 5 or 10 years? So I very much kind of appreciate the idea that a drone is in the air and it's providing real-time data, including visuals, back somewhere. But when we talk about, delivery systems, and I know Domino's Pizza Enterprises, for example, in the Netherlands has actually delivered pizzas in a very small radius using drones. Is that something of the future? Do you think we'll ever get there? Or do you think mostly the use of drones will be for the types of things that you're talking about, albeit on a much, much bigger scale?
Really good question, Sean. I sit on an advisory board for a charity called Serving Our People, and I'm helping them set up a drone delivery network for the next few years. Now, there's some amazing companies around the world. There's one called Wingcopter who have developed a drone delivery system. Now, this aircraft, I'll call it an aircraft, can fly across cities, it can deliver all sorts of things. Now, if you mass produce these and then have them on scale across major cities, then it starts to become an extremely efficient way to deliver things in urban places. So you can think of congestion and traffic and all that sort of stuff. If you take that out of the equation, all of a sudden you've got this logistic network or delivery network that can become extremely efficient. And Sean, I think this will be highly possible here within Australia in the next 2 years. So we're already seeing it happen in Canada with DHL. There's medical delivery supplies. That's all happening in different parts of the world. I think it's going to be here and a lot sooner than everyone thinks.
Something to look forward to. Tom, thanks for talking to Fear and Greed.
No problem.
That was Tom Caska, co-founder and chief executive officer of Aerologix.